Well, depending on their ascendant sign. So you'll always make a good match with the same sign. But there are some others that just might turn out to be spectacular.
If you're familiar with Western astrology, you know that what most people consider their birth sign is really their sun sign, since Western astrology is based on the position of the sun. But the even older Chinese zodiac is based on the cycles of the moon. Right, Patty?
That's right, Pamela. There are a lot of other differences too, but that's what we're here to explain, isn't it?
That's what you're here to explain. You're the expert. I have a lot more questions than I have answers. And I guess the first one would be, how did it all get started?
Well, the legend says that it all began with the Lord Buddha himself. When he was about to depart from Earth, he summoned all the animals to bid him farewell, but only 12 came. To reward them for their loyalty, he named a year after each of the animals in the order that they had arrived.
Oh, really?
Yes, that's why the first is the year of the rat, ox, tiger, rabbit, and on around to the year of the dog and the boar. According to what year you were born in, one of these is your sen shou, animal that hides in your heart.
Oh, so there are 12 signs in the Chinese zodiac too.
Well, 12 animal signs, yes, but each of these is combined with each of the 5 different elements: wood, fire, earth, water, and metal. So the whole cycle actually runs 60 years.
Aha, complications. Are there any more?
Of course. There's the positive and negative polarities, the yin and yang, the signs of the hours, and even a little more. But it's really not that tough if you take it a little at a time.
Okay. Where do we start?
With your birthday.
My birthday? Oh, no, you don't. I don't want everyone to know all my secrets.
Okay. How about a friend of yours? If you don't use her name, nobody will know who she is, and you can see how accurate the horoscope turns out.
Good idea. Okay, let me think. I got it. February 9th, 1965. It should be an interesting horoscope. She's an interesting lady.
No hints, please. Okay, the first thing we do is find out her sen shou, the animal that rules the year she was born in, because it's the strongest influence.
Huh. How do we do that?
Well, it's a little harder than the Western method because the Chinese calendar doesn't coincide with the one we use. We use a solar calendar with 12 months. Some have 30 days, some have 31, and of course good old February has 28, usually. But since a solar year isn't exactly 365 days long, every 4 years we add a 29th day in February, and it all comes out pretty close. The Chinese calendar is a lunar calendar, which usually has 12 equal months of 29 and a half days, the cycle of the moon. Each month starts on the new moon. That comes out short of a year, too, so every 2.5 years they add an extra month, which makes a lunar leap year.
So how do you figure out what Chinese year you were born in?
Easy. You just look it up on a chart. This one is good for a quick reference, unless your birthday is in January or February. The Chinese New Year always starts in our January or February, so if your birthday is in any other month, just look for the year you were born in, and it'll give you your sen shou. But since your friend's birthday is February 9th, we'll have to look at a second chart, which gives the exact start and end of each Chinese New Year. Let's see. In 1965, the New Year started on February 2nd, so she was born 7 days into the year of the snake. This chart gives the element and the polarity too, so we find out that your friend was born under the sign and influence of the negative wood snake.
So what does all that mean?
Well, there are 5 different kinds of snakes. Wood snakes, fire snakes, earth snakes, metal snakes, and water snakes. They all have a lot in common as snakes, but they're also really quite different.
Oh, so the animal sign gives you the general characteristics, but they're all influenced by the particular elements.
Right.
Oh.
Generally, snake people are intelligent and self-reliant. They march to their own drummer, whether it's the same or different than anyone else's. But a metal snake is usually more of a loner. The water snake, more charismatic. The fire snake, more domineering, and so on.
So how about my friend the wood snake?
Well, she's probably very insistent on her own intellectual freedom and independence, but also likely to be constant and loyal with her affections. Treat her fairly and give her some breathing room, and she'll turn out to be a really good friend.
Well, that's her all right. So far, so good. Now what? What about this positive-negative polarity?
Well, it obviously doesn't refer to the good guys and the bad guys.
Good, that's good.
Yeah, especially since half of us were born under the negative sign. Actually, the polarity goes back to the old Tai Chi principle of the yin and yang, a perfect balance of equal but opposite forces. In general terms, the positive sign is the yang force, daytime, active, and the negative sign is the yin force, nighttime, contemplative.
Oh, I see.
But don't put too much weight on the polarity sign. There are some other strong influencers.
Like what?
Like the sign of the hour.
Oh.
What time of day was your friend born?
Oh, gee. Well, I know, it was just before midnight, 11:45, that's right. And it was real windy, too, if that matters.
Oh, it does. But one thing at a time. The Chinese divide the day into 12 two-hour segments, each ruled by a different animal. They start at 11 p.m. with the hours of the rat, and continue on through to 9 to 11 p.m., the hours of the boar. This is your ascendant sign, and it's just as strong in Chinese horoscopes as the rising sign in Western astrology. So let's see, 11:45 p.m. means your friend was born in the hour of the rat. Oh, good. That's an excellent ascendant sign for a snake person.
Oh, why's that?
Well, balance is very important in Chinese philosophy. The most desirable horoscope has equalized yin and yang forces, each of the 5 different elements, and 4 different animal signs. So, let's see what we have so far. From her birth sign, she is a negative wood snake with a rat ascendant. But each of the animal signs also carries with it a stem polarity and a fixed element, which don't change. For the snake, they are negative fire, and for the rat, they are positive water. So far, she has 2 negatives and a positive, 2 different animals, and 3 different elements. She's well on her way to a very balanced horoscope.
Great. What's next?
Well, the next thing I look at is the sign of the lunar phase. We need to know if she was born under a new moon, a full moon, or first or third quarter.
Oh, you've got me there. I don't even know that about myself.
Who does? But there are a couple of good ways to find out.
Oh?
If you happen to have the calendar page of the month you were born in, there are usually symbols on it that show when each moon phase begins. The dark circles are new moons, the light ones full moons, and the others are first and third quarters. So in 1990, anyone born from the 9th to the 16th would be born under the full moon, according to this calendar.
Even in the daytime?
Yes. It doesn't matter whether the moon is visible or not. But you really don't need a library full of calendars to determine your moon phase. A perpetual lunar calendar would do quite nicely, but they're getting a little hard to find. Or an ephemeris.
A what?
An ephemeris? It's an astronomical reference book. Most libraries have them, and they give you the phases of the moon and a whole lot more. Most astrologers have their own copies because it gives you all the reference you need for the sun and all the planets, as well as the moon.
Whew.
Right. But all we really need is right down here. The new moon in February 1965 began on February 1st at 1636 Greenwich Mean Time. Where was your friend born?
Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay. I just happen to know that's 8 hours plus from Greenwich, so that makes it 24:36 or half past midnight on February 2nd. Good. That makes it easy.
Easy?
Here, I'll show you.
Okay.
The Chinese divide up the cycle of the moon like this. It starts with the new moon, of course, and progresses through 12 phases, 3 in each quarter. There is an animal sign for each phase, and they're all about 2.5 days long. You should think of these divisions as having soft edges, not sharp, clean lines as they are drawn here. When you look at the moon, it doesn't suddenly change from new moon to first quarter. It's a gradual transition, and the same applies here. There is a time when the snake influence is at full effect, and a time when it is in transition with the arrival of the horse influence. It's one of the more subtle areas of the Chinese horoscope, and really the most intriguing for me.
Fascinating.
So, let's see where your friend fits in.
Okay.
First, we put down the start date of the new moon of the cycle she's in. Each of these lines is 24 hours later, and that's why it's nice that it starts at midnight. We don't have to make any adjustments. Each line represents 12 midnight. Now we count out the days until we find her birthday and hour. This is the 2nd of February, the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and this is the 9th. This would be noon, so 6:30 a.m. is right about in here. So look what that tells us. She is a spring dragon, but very near the transition with the summer snake. And that gives us another animal sign to add to her birth chart, and it's a new one, the dragon, which has for fixed signs plus polarity and the wood element. So let's see what we have so far. 3 different animals, snake, rat, and dragon. 2 yins to balance the 2 yangs. Wood, fire, water, and a second wood, reinforcing her Senshu element. Great balance and diversity. You're right. Your friend is going to have an interesting horoscope.
Yeah, that's no surprise to me.
Okay, let's finish up her birth chart and see what's in store for the lady, okay?
Great.
The last thing I look at is the seasonal sign. Now, this is the only sign in the Chinese horoscope based on the solar calendar, and as a matter of fact, fits in pretty well with Western astrology.
Oh, really? How's that?
Well, farmers worldwide rely on the solstices and equinoxes to determine their planting and harvesting seasons. They're the benchmarks in both calendars. So this is how the 12 animal signs relate to our calendar days. And just for fun, I've added the Western astrological sun sign to the right so you can see how closely they match up. Since your friend was born February 9th, that gives her another new animal sign in her birth chart, the tiger. With that, we can finish it off. And then comes the fun part.
Seeing what makes her tick?
Right, that and a lot more.
Oh, good.
But first, let's finish the chart. Okay, the fixed signs for the tiger are plus polarity and wood again. Interesting.
Oh, come on, tell me.
Okay, if you're going to do this the Eastern way, you'll have to learn a little more patience.
Okay.
Look at this. She's got 4 different animals represented, and that's an indication of a depth of personality and a broad range of interests. And her polarity signs are perfectly balanced. 3 yangs against the stronger 2 yins that came with her Senshu. But in the elements, she has 2 more woods reinforcing her primary element. She's very definitely a wood person.
Okay, now what does all that mean?
Oh, much better, Pamela. Now, here comes the fun part. First, we'll fill out our picture of her a little, and then take a look at favorable career choices, and then what I know is going to be your favorite, compatibilities.
Yes. I'll try to be patient until then.
Okay, good girl. Now, let's take a look at the dominant animal sign, the snake. Generally, snake people are intelligent, self-reliant, and tenacious, goal-oriented. But as we've already said, there are 5 different kinds of snakes, and she happens to be a wood snake, which means she is more broad-minded and understanding than other snakes. And she is also more likely to attract the things and people she wants out of life than to have to go after them. But she is a snake after all, and if something she wants doesn't come to her immediately, she has the determination to get it under her own considerable power.
Wow, that's her all right. Relaxed and easygoing most of the time, but she can certainly lock onto a target.
I don't doubt that for a minute. But there's a lot more here. Let's take a look at the elements and see what they have to tell us. She is certainly very much a wood person, with a double reinforcement of her primary element. And the other 2 elements are fire and water. The elements are very important in Chinese horoscopes, and in fact all through Chinese philosophy. They are generally presented in a circular layout to show that they all have equal importance. This is what's called a conducive cycle, which is a good indicator of productivity. The Chinese say, from metal we get water, from water we get wood, from wood we get fire, from fire we get earth, and from earth we get metal. So the cycle is complete with no one element any more important than the other. But of course, each element has its own area of influence. Metal has to do with the functional mechanical things. Water represents communication, thoughts, and ideas. Wood relates to growth and knowledge. Fire stands for activity and motivation, and earth represents stability and practicality. Your friend has an abundance of the wood element, growth and knowledge, which means she's great at learning things and would probably make a good teacher.
Huh.
But that isn't her only option. Her other two elements are the neighboring ones, fire and water, which covers the other two people elements.
Oh.
She'll do well in any people business. I usually look at it this way. If a person has a double or a triple in one area, that indicates a special affinity there. But each element also stands between two others and is the transitional element for them. So if she draws from water, she can produce fire. She should be good at communicating ideas and motivating people into action, maybe as a politician or in advertising.
Aha, I get it.
Going the other way, she could draw on activity and motivation to produce communicative ideas. Something in the arts, maybe as a dancer or an actress.
Bingo.
On the other hand, she is missing the earth and metal elements from her birth chart, so she may be a little restless and not too mechanically inclined. How are we doing so far?
Incredibly accurate. Are you sure you don't know her?
Hey, I don't even know who she is, remember?
Oh yeah, right. Well, can we go on?
Sure.
All right.
This is the controlling cycle of the elements. They are in a different order, but again, there isn't any dominant one.
Oh.
The saying goes, fire controls metal, metal controls wood, wood controls earth, earth controls water, and water controls fire. I usually use this chart to determine who's going to influence whom in a relationship.
Okay. This is starting to get a little juicier now, isn't it?
I knew you'd like this part. And it's just about what you'd expect. Wood people tend to be very influential over earth people, and in turn to be influenced by metal people.
And the more of the element, the greater the influence?
You've got it.
So my friend with all the wood elements in her chart would probably literally dominate somebody with a lot of earth in their chart, and ought to be careful of somebody with a lot of metal elements?
Hey, maybe you should be doing all the explaining instead of me.
No way. But this is very intriguing.
As a matter of fact, this is why the Chinese like to have a balanced horoscope containing all the elements. Otherwise, you're susceptible to people or things with strength in the element you're lacking.
Aha.
But there are ways that you can compensate for it.
Like what?
Well, traditionally, the Chinese are named by their grandparents, and they spend a lot of time and energy deciding on just the right name, whose Chinese characters contain whatever elements are missing from the child's birth chart. For instance, they might include the character for gold in the name, with the interpretation that it represents one who is precious. The final effect is about the same as adding the metal element into the birth chart.
And nobody's the wiser.
Sure. But it's all very secretive, or else you'd be giving away a potential weakness to everyone.
Ah. But that'd be pretty difficult to do in English, unless you married somebody named Wood or Waterman or something.
Yeah. Well, there are a few first names available, like Eartha and Goldie, but there are other easier ways to compensate. Like by wearing gold or silver jewelry to add metal, wooden beads or bracelets, living near water, or keeping an aquarium. But there's another way that I'm kind of surprised I didn't think of right away.
Like what?
Finding yourself a partner with the element you're missing.
What?
Sure. It's common practice. Just make sure there aren't any other problems like incompatible animal signs or too much of a controlling element, and that other person can help fill out your chart. It's really a good basis for a relationship, especially if you're both supplying something the other one needs.
Now this is really getting interesting. How does this work?
Well, I guess it's time that we started talking about compatibility based on the Chinese horoscope, huh?
You bet.
Okay. Well, it all starts with the animal signs and with what are called triads, or triangles of affinity.
Oh.
Triads are 3 animal signs which are equidistant from each other, like the snake, rooster, and ox. They make for good, long-lasting relationships.
Because they're similar?
Well, similar, yes, but not identical. They have enough in common that they can understand each other well, but enough differences to be interesting.
Oh.
The first triad is made up of the rat, dragon, and monkey, and they are all doers, activity-oriented. The second triad is formed by the ox, the snake, and the rooster. These are the deep thinkers, and they're also very determined. In the third triad, the tiger, horse, and dog signs are all people-oriented and have a tendency to be a little impulsive. The rabbit, sheep, and boar are the most compassionate ones, the most flexible in their thinking.
You're likely to get along well with any of the signs in your triad, including your own, of course.
Huh. But what about incompatibility? What signs don't get along?
The ones directly across from each other, like the snake and the boar. And if they happen to be of the same polarity, they're probably going to be mortal enemies.
And by the way, that's the only time the polarity has that strong an effect on a relationship.
Any other alignments?
Not really. Those are the strong pulls and pushes, and the rest is up for grabs. But don't forget that the birth chart is made up of 4 different animal signs. There may be some repeats, but each of the 4 positions refers to a different aspect of your personality. So there are a lot of combinations possible.
Like what?
Well, the first animal sign from the year you were born is the strongest influence. I usually say that's the everyday you, the person you are most of the time. But the second sign, the ascendant, is also very strong.
I like to think of it as the you you'd like to become, or at least how you'd like to be more often.
So you really should consider both your primary sign and your ascendant sign to get a better reading of your compatibility?
You bet. And something else. If your own primary and ascendant signs are incompatible with each other, you've got a real inner conflict. And until you resolve which one is the truly dominant side of your nature, or find a way to satisfy each, you're never really going to be happy with yourself.
Fascinating. What about the other 2 animal signs?
Well, for most people, those are really secondary. They definitely reflect a part of your personality, but a much less dominant part than the first 2.
So they really just supply a little shading and depth, huh?
Well put. Are you sure you're not Chinese? Actually, their influence varies from person to person. But if you stick with the primary and the ascendant, you'll cover the strongest influences.
Oh.
There is one more thing you could look at, though, if you want to cover all the bases.
What's that?
Well, remember back when we were figuring the moon phase sign on this chart here? Well, we just sort of skipped over this part of it, what's called the season of the moon.
Oh.
We put down the animal sign, but there are also some general characteristics that are related to what quarter the moon was in when you were born. The new moon symbolizes spring, a time for birth and new beginnings.
Spring people are generally lively, innovative, free spirits who love adventure and new ideas.
The first quarter is the summer phase, the time for growth and activity. Summer people are very energetic. They're only really happy when they're right in the center of action. The full moon is harvest time, fall.
Autumn people are the organizers, the collectors. They crave order.
Oh.
The last quarter is winter.
The time for settling up and concluding projects. Winter people are the analytical thinkers, the problem solvers, patient and persevering, the finishers.
Well, Patty, you've certainly given us a lot to work with. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure.
Is there anything you'd like to add?
Just a general recommendation. Don't be too rigid in your interpretations, especially when you're first starting out. Remember, all of these are just inclinations, tendencies. You're dealing with human beings, the most unpredictable creatures on Earth. Although they might follow their signs exactly, they are also quite capable of defying them and going off in a completely different direction.
Isn't that the truth? Whether you're getting into it seriously or just playing around with your friends, the Chinese horoscope is an excellent way to learn a lot about people in general, and yourself as well. Right, Patty?
Right. And who said all this only applies to people?
What do you mean?
Well, marriages, businesses, and even countries have birthdays too, you know. And there's no reason why this shouldn't apply to them, is there?
So you mean we can use all this to see what a relationship will be like based on when it was started?
That's right. And to help everyone else get started, let's go through all the different animal signs and give a summary of the characteristics, okay?
Okay. But you go first. My mind's still reeling with possibilities.
Okay. For the most part, the element-animal combinations follow a pattern. The metal element usually adds practicality and industriousness, water an intellectual, cultured tone. Wood animals are usually more broad-minded and considerate, and it's no surprise that fire will probably add a tendency for action and single-minded purpose. The earth element generally brings with it a studious, responsible quality. But there are exceptions, and as a matter of fact, we're going to start off with one. The metal rat is likely to be idealistic and emotional, and may also be athletic. He will have a constant struggle against his possessiveness and domineering nature. The water rat is definitely intellectual, and will consider his learning process lifelong. He will be influential and get along well with people. The wood rat combines a strong curiosity with amiability to be very opportunistic. He loves security and builds for it, but also finds it easy to find support for new ventures. The fire rat is a real go-getter, especially for social causes. He is very independent, competitive, and idealistic, with energy and impatience to match. But he is certainly no diplomat. The earth rat matures early, favoring order and security. He is very realistic and advances himself one step at a time, surely and methodically.
Ox people are generally methodical, stoic, and traditional, and these are the 5 types of oxen. The metal ox is particularly willful, determined to get his way. He will stick to his guns and labor long hours without complaint to accomplish his goals, but they must be his. The water ox is patient, practical, and ambitious. He works well with others, is a great organizer, and can outweight and wear down any opposition. The wood ox is remarkably fair and just. He is the least stubborn ox and will be admired for his ethics and integrity. The fire ox is strongly attracted to power and importance. He is the most forceful ox, and his proud outspokenness may often prove to be abrasive to others. The earth ox is an endurer, a slow but steady achiever. He will avoid distractions and temptations in order to focus all his attention on progress without backsliding.
Tiger people are generally dynamic, powerful, and unpredictable. These are the 5 different tiger types. The metal tiger has a huge appetite for attention and novelty. He knows what he wants and is willing to try whatever approach is required to get it. He will defend his freedom at all costs. The water tiger also enjoys newness in both ideas and experiences, but he is the least temperamental of the tigers, an excellent communicator and realistic in his evaluation of people and situations. The wood tiger is the social tiger. He is democratic in his views, usually very popular, an excellent team player, and good at bringing people together. The fire tiger is always on the go. He is very energetic and enthusiastic about everything in his life, dramatic and unpredictable, and influential by the sheer force of his vitality. The earth tiger is the most sedate and responsible of the tigers. He prefers familiar things, order, and sensibility. He will concentrate on efforts that are most likely to bring him the greatest rewards.
Rabbit people are generally gracious, easygoing, and diplomatic. These are the 5 different rabbit types. The metal rabbit has more strength of will and probably more physical endurance as well than any other rabbit. He has a strong creative drive, and his discriminating taste may lead him to be either a critic or an art collector. The water rabbit has a propensity for psychic powers. He is very receptive, easily reading others' emotions, and is also adept at transmitting unspoken thoughts. He will avoid confrontations because of his tendency to overreact to them. The hallmark of the wood rabbit is generosity, sometimes too much for everyone's good. He is very understanding, a great and appreciated team player, and rises quickly in corporations and institutions where he is the happiest. The fire rabbit is a real people person. He is charming, demonstrative, affectionate, and is a good person to have fun with. He is very adept at masking his temperamental nature with discretion and diplomacy. He feeds on approval and is good at getting it. The earth rabbit is methodical, studying every move before he makes it. He is likely to be very cool and calculating, with the endurance to maintain the regimen of a well-programmed plan of action.
Dragon people are generally energetic, heroic in nature, and have a tendency to be dominating. These are the 5 different dragons. The metal dragon is bright, intensely honest, and iron-willed. His impatience may well make him something of an elitist, choosing to associate only with people he considers his peers. But he will be a strong champion against evil wherever he sees it. The water dragon prefers to work behind the scenes, letting others get the attention. As long as things are building and progressing, he is well able to deal with minor setbacks. But do not underestimate either his abilities or his strength of will. The wood dragon lives to create. He will apply his appreciable gifts for critical analysis to devise new concepts with solid foundations. He is generous and will compromise when necessary, but always to produce his own ends. The fire dragon expects a lot more from everyone, especially himself. His energy supports his ambition, but he often would do better to inspire rather than demand the cooperation of others. When he does, he is a truly dynamic leader. The earth dragon is the strong, silent type, but no loner. He is at home in the seat of judgment, listening to the input of others, analyzing it, and coming to a decision that affects everyone. Quiet control is his forte.
Snake people are usually intelligent, forceful, and a little enigmatic. These are the 5 varieties of snakes. The metal snake is a brooder, a quiet calculator. But since he has considered most situations in advance, he is able to move quickly when opportunities present themselves. He can be very generous and cooperative, but he values his privacy highly and will overreact to any threat to it. The water snake combines an intellectual and practical nature. He is likely to be artistic and well-read, forming a basis for great insight and a subtle but profound influence on people. Charismatic but somehow elusive, he will be especially shrewd in business dealings. The wood snake is kind and considerate, but absolutely insistent on independence, the right to think and act his own way. He is a processor more than a gatherer of information, preferring to put it to immediate and practical use, perhaps in the performing arts, taking advantage of his communication skills. The fire snake is physically and mentally active and energetic. He may be a little excessive in his passions, but will be easily forgiven for it, especially by his small circle of close friends. His strong ambitions, especially for fame and power, may lead him into politics. The earth snake is a far steadier snake, admired for his persistence and reliability. He is warm and charismatic, a good communicator, and slow but accurate in his assessment of people and opportunities. A loyal friend, likely to attract many others.
Horse people are basically vivacious, quick-witted, and adventurous. These are the 5 variations. The metal horse is bold, impetuous, and thoroughly engaging. As long as a project maintains his interest, he will be very productive, but as soon as routine sets in, he will bolt from boredom. New ideas come easily, but follow-through does not. The water horse is also restless, unlikely to stay in one place for too long. His good business judgment will support his strong desire for status and creature comforts, but he may frustrate others with abrupt changes in every aspect of his life. The wood horse is a lot easier to get along with. He is friendly and cooperative, but retains the strong horse rebellion to any form of domination. He is a happy and social creature, favoring the new over the old, but could benefit by being a little more discerning in his choices. The fire horse is the most volatile of all. He is flamboyant, excitable, and easily distracted from any course.
Yet he is brilliant and well-liked for his wit and charm. Here is a person who actually needs to be doing two things at once, at least. The earth horse is much more stable, being capricious only about minor things. He is happy and congenial, but prefers a more thought-out approach. By the time he finishes analyzing every aspect of an action, it may sometimes be too late to act.
Sheep people are generally compassionate, serene, and sincere. These are the 5 types of sheep. The metal sheep has a strong need for beauty, harmony, and balance. He overlays a calm, peaceful exterior over a very emotional core, sensitive to the point of vulnerability. Yet under it all is a confidence in his considerable native abilities, especially in the arts. The water sheep arouses the protective instincts in those around him and is able to utilize that talent to his benefit, especially on the occasions that he really needs help. He responds well to strong, reliable people and comfortable, familiar situations rather than new and challenging ones. The wood sheep is the gentle protector. He is deeply moved by the misfortune of others, is compassionate to a fault, and has a tendency to trust people too much. But others admire his high moral principles and both protect and support his efforts. The fire sheep is more self-directed, but ironically his strong creative ability is more interpretive than inventive. He's aggressive socially, loves to entertain and be admired, and may overreach himself with his efforts in that direction. The earth sheep is even more self-reliant, especially if you consider his family and close friends an extension of himself, as he does. He is hard-working and conservative financially, but will not hold back when it comes to the creature comforts of himself or his loved ones.
Monkey people are clever, innovative, and impatient as a rule. These are the 5 monkey types. The metal monkey is fiercely independent. He is passionate, demonstrative, and a consummate salesman who would far rather run his own business. If employed by a company, he is very likely to have something else going on the side. The water monkey is pleasant and purposeful, with cooperative efforts defined in advance as favor for favor. He is clever and original in his presentation of his ideas, preferring to maneuver around objects rather than overwhelm them by force. A good motivator of himself and others. The wood monkey places great importance on good communications with those around him, probably because of his special ability to make use of information, especially new ideas and processes. This is an investigator, an innovator who becomes quite restless when he feels the status quo can be improved, but is prepared to proceed little by little as long as there is progress. The fire monkey is the energetic, forceful monkey. He takes great pains to remain at the top of his field, with a strong tendency to dominate those with lesser talents and drive. He may become carried away by his imagination, since he values action above caution. The earth monkey values his own integrity highly, and wants others to appreciate it as well. He is a very thorough researcher, and will extend his knowledge far beyond his formal education. He is charitable, but not passionate about it, and quietly advocates just and fair policies for the good of all people.
Rooster people tend to be organized, zealous, and maybe just a little proud. These are the 5 rooster types. The metal rooster loves to impress people with the brilliance of his logic, but a tendency to overanalyze may get in his way. Still, beyond his acquisitiveness and insistence on personal cleanliness is a strong concern for the benefit of mankind and the commitment to work for it. The water rooster is chiefly concerned with the gathering and dissemination of knowledge, especially scientific information, and even more especially medical technology. He has plenty of energy and self-drive to fuel his natural ability to write and speak well, fulfilling his ambition to motivate people to action. The wood rooster has a wide view of life and a variety of interests. He is generally very considerate, but has difficulty understanding why everyone does not have the same enthusiasm and determination he has. He is a valued and reliable co-worker, especially if he limits his number of activities to within his control. The fire rooster is very energetic and highly motivated with good intentions. But he must control his tendency to be inflexible. He himself is strong, principled, and follows his own path. But he may go overboard with his expectations and demands that others share his views. The earth rooster is a straightforward, systematic, and diligent worker. He enjoys setting a good example for those around him and then extolling them to follow his example. He asks a lot of himself and people under his influence, and all are rewarded with success.
Dog people are generally honest, loyal, and amiable. These are the 5 different dog signs. The metal dog is strong in his principles and unwavering in his convictions. Once he picks a side on an issue, he will defend it vigorously for life. He is intensely patriotic, and while his causes spring from his heart, he is highly disciplined in pursuing them. The water dog is very humanistic, lenient, and forgiving of both himself and others. Charming and usually physically attractive as well, he will have a wide circle of friends, but not be strongly bound to any of them. Fair-minded and sympathetic, he will also be a facile communicator. The wood dog will be attractive to many, but attracted to few. With those selected, he will form strong, lifelong bonds of mutual respect. Still, the larger group will strongly influence his life with desired and easily given approval. He is even-tempered, honest, and considerate, more concerned with beauty and balance than strictly materialistic things. The fire dog is dramatic, adventurous, and self-assured. He is rebellious in defense of his liberty, which gives him great sex appeal. He will relate well to role models and people older than himself who provide stability in his life and the benefit of their experience. The earth dog is the model teacher. His quiet but sound instruction is appreciated for its wisdom and practicality. He maintains his own high standards, inspiring others to almost live up to his expectations. He is very individualistic in his own thinking, but will respect the majority rule even when it rarely goes against him.
Boer people are typically steadfast, sturdy, and generous. These are the 5 Boer variations. The metal Boer is willful, demonstrative, and may become a little overbearing, or even a lot. He doesn't hide his passions and tends to underrate his opponents and overrate his friends as reflections of himself. If you cross him, be prepared for a long, hard battle, as his endurance and determination are legendary. The water Boer is a persevering and resourceful negotiator, with the ability to meet adversaries more than halfway and still succeed. He has a miraculous faith in his loved ones and his own basic tenets, which may make him vulnerable to manipulation. Normally peaceful and conciliatory, he will on occasion burst forth with passionate declarations. The wood Boer loves to utilize his manipulative skills for the good of his subject and all mankind. Good-hearted and persuasive, he creates an atmosphere of pleasant goodwill wherever he goes, although he is not always very selective in his company. The fire Boer's intense and adventurous spirit is both his best asset and his greatest liability. Once he selects a course, his immense energy will force him to follow it through to its extreme conclusion, for good or bad. He is loving and generous, especially to his family. The earth Boer is a peaceful homebody, devoted to his family almost as much as to his work. There he is downright obsessive in doing whatever is required for however long it takes to achieve success. But he will reach his goals because they are reasonable and realistic, attainable. A reliable and thoughtful friend and associate, he will be highly valued for his dedication and loyalty.
Well, that's about it, Pamela. Those are the 60 different animal signs. Thanks for helping me describe them.
Well, thank you for telling us how to do Chinese horoscopes. Any final words of advice?
Oh yes, of course. What we've shown you here are just the basics, but you can do a lot with them. Don't limit yourself to charting people or relationships that already exist. You can also work backwards and determine a good date and time of day to start a relationship, Buy a car, plant a garden, or whatever. Have fun.
Good advice. But I'd like to add a few words of my own. As Patty said earlier, any predictions or analysis that has to do with humans can't be too rigid. People are usually pretty surprising, and that's what makes them so interesting. But you can certainly have a good time considering the possibilities. Right, Patty?
Exactly.
So we'll leave you with our good wishes and some reference material for the animal years from 1900 to 2008. In the meantime, let's see who'd make a good match for my friend. Okay, Patty?
Okay. Now first we have to determine his animal sign, so we have to know what day he was born.
Mm-hmm.
Here are some other ancient arts you might want to explore.
Witchcraft, the stuff of myths and legends and Hollywood movies. From Shakespeare to Salem, there have been a lot of rumors and romanticized depictions of the practice of witchcraft. But have you ever wondered what it would be like to do a little witchcraft yourself? In Basic Witchcraft, we'll give you an overview of some of the basic fundamentals of witchcraft, how to prepare yourself and your implements, how to make your own witching stone, some popular and useful rituals and spells, how to make your own charms and potions. We can't show you everything, of course. Learning witchcraft is a lifetime process, but we'll certainly give you enough to get you started. On Basic Witchcraft in the Ancient Art series from the video group.
There's intelligence here, and a deep-seated inner strength.
The Tarot, the cards of mystery.
Beautiful, enigmatic, fascinating. When you learn to read them, they can tell you a lot about the important people, events, and opportunities in the lives of your friends, and in your own life.
And it's easier to do than you might expect.
In the art of the tarot, We'll show you the meaning of the cards, a simple but very effective technique for reading them, the ancient Celtic layout, how to prepare for a reading, and how to get the most out of it.
Whether you want to delve into it seriously or just have some fun with your friends, the art of the tarot will help get you started. Now, tell me a little more about this Knight of Swords guy.
Well, he will make a major change in your life, and you in his.
The Art of the Tarot, in the Ancient Art series from the video group.